Been a minute, but I'm back, and it's because I had a little bit of a surprise over the weekend. So this is Clara. Hi. And she is so far perfect as a Vegas Golden Knights fan. Baby number 3, and 3 wins in a row. That's fantastic. A 4th win in a row, but 3rd since she was born. And so hat trick of wins and 2 hat tricks in these games, and our hat trick child, because she's the 3rd. So, you know, hat trick seems fitting for the name of this video, doesn't it? The Vegas Golden Knights win against the Detroit Red Wings, 5-3. I thought it was 5-2, but Detroit scored late, and I forgot that Vegas, you know, scored another one. It was 6-3. It was fantastic. I paid attention to some, like, the score updates basically throughout this game, but from rewatching it and seeing what I did see, like, Vegas really responded well compared to the shutout 3-0 against Detroit, the scheduled loss that we, you know. But why am I bringing that up? It's a good day. It's been a good week. Vegas wins against Detroit in a really good response game from the previous game, and also just in general, just getting back on the right track. Yes, it's at home, but it is an earlier game against an Eastern Conference team, so you know that's helpful. And Tomas Hertl can't be outdone by Pavel Dorofeev and scores a hat trick, his 2nd in 3 games. And I'm getting a little bit sad thinking about it now because of what happens in the next game. But Tomas Hertl, fantastic stuff. He had 6 goals. So there's a hat trick in Vegas home games. The 3 from Tomas Hertl in the LA loss, and then Pavel Dorofeev, and then now Tomas Hertl again. So in the 3 home games, Hertl has 6 goals. That's insane. Tomas Hertl with a spectacular season for the Golden Knights so far. But in general, just a really solid game. Jack Eichel continues to up his points, and he had, like, I think a 4-point game in this, which puts him a little bit over on pace for over 100 points, which let's hope he gets there, you know. Our power play continuing to fire on all cylinders with 2 power play goals in this game. Just really solid. And that continues into our next game against the... I was gonna change jerseys, but I'm not going to now. Isn't that right? Vegas gets on the board halfway through the first with a power play goal from Nick Waugh, and then it's just all Vegas from there with a minor push from Tampa Bay, but Vegas wins 4-2. Victory Flamingo stays on. Fantastic stuff from Vegas. It's Tomas Hertl again scoring another freaking goal, and then Jack Eichel as well, and Nick Hague with the empty netter, which that's great. Samsonov was actually solid in this game, and that's the thing about Samsonov that I noticed so far this season, is he's either like really good and just really solid, or completely random and bad, and you never know what you're gonna get. Box of chocolates, Forrest Gump, that's Ilya Samsonov's nickname, I've decided. But in this game, there's a little bit of a board from Tampa Bay Lightning player that it didn't get called. Interesting. But Tomas Hertl goes into it, and that's not good news for Vegas. He didn't go on the road trip, which 3-game road trip, and you know, you'd better like be safe than sorry, and you don't want him sitting out too long if he's actually healthy, but like giving him rests over games that like every point matters. We want to win the division, but we're basically almost a lock for the playoffs at this point, and so like you want him for then, right? And so it's really tough because you wish that somebody would have justice for Hertl. Yeah, no, that's not good. That's not good news. But Vegas, I'm bringing this back up for the previous game against Detroit. The first goal, her and I watched together, where I was holding her and we watched the goal, was Jack Eichel's empty netter. So that was great. I was cleaning throughout most of this game, and then I went to bed because I'm so exhausted. Less exhausted than my wife, obviously, because, you know, it's my wife and she was the one that did most of the work there. But anyways, just fantastic stuff. And then we move on to the next game against the Minnesota Wild. Because Vegas wins against the Minnesota Wild 5-1. A little bit misleading of a score because, you know, most of those goals happened in the last 4.5 minutes of the game, but fantastic stuff. And it's our last game against this guy, unless we face them in the playoffs, which either way, even if that was the case, we'd probably face Gus because he's the obvious starter. But huge shout out to Flower. My favorite player is still in the NHL, and like of all time, he's my favorite player. My son, firstborn, his middle name is Fleury. One of her middle names is McKenna, and then I have a daughter whose initials spell Oreo. So I am a father to an Oreo McFlurry. Now I really want one. But we're gonna go through this game first because it's another hat trick from Jack Eichel, the first player we watched score a goal. Oh man, Clara is such good luck, and she's a hat trick baby. She's the hat trick. Oh, you beautiful thing. Also, return of Shea Theodore, who was back for the first time since the Four Nations face-off when he broke his hand in the first game for Canada against Sweden. And he looked fine. There were a couple, like, he looks rusty, right? And you don't know how much of that is his mental stuff with his wrist, because wrist injuries, you know, it's kind of like, you just got to rely on it and get back to that muscle memory and build up the strength for it again. But also, like, just he hasn't played in a couple of weeks, right, at game speed, and so it's gonna, if I haven't done something for a couple of weeks, it takes me a minute or two to readjust, and I'm not paid millions to do it as a professional athlete, you know. But Shea Theodore gets an assist on the first goal to Jack Eichel. This video, despite being about 3 games, is not going to be half an hour like the last video was. That was about 3 games that we lost all 3. They keep winning. It's great for Vegas fans. Brett Howden chips a goal in the second. He behind the net flicks it and it bounces off of Fleury and in. I felt bad for Flower on that one, but also not, because it's Vegas and we're winning. So, you know, great. But to start the third, we let our foot off the gas a little bit, and Minnesota gets a goal from Johansson, and then they have a ton of momentum. But Vegas goes to a power play, and I know I shouldn't have thought this way. It's their first power play of the game, right? But I was like, oh, well, there goes Minnesota's momentum. Our power play, and I deserve to be cocky about this. Like you've only known a good power play. It did not always be like that. Vegas historically has sucked on the power play for years. Doesn't matter coaches, doesn't matter players, doesn't matter scheme, whatever. It's just, for some reason, we acquired Tomas Hertl. And even when Tomas Hertl wasn't in the lineup, so good, so good, so good. There's 3 so goods, hat trick of so goods. And Vegas, Jack Eichel scores again. It's his second of the game. And then after that, Vegas just exploded. They got an empty netter from Tanner Pearson, and then after that, Jack Eichel scored his 3rd goal of the game for another hat trick. Yay, I would take off her hat and throw it, but it's Vegas, and so, you know, my grandma knitted this actually. It was, I think, designed by one that was, that Flower had for James, his kid, that when he was born. When they were with Vegas, but super, super grateful for, thank you, Grandma. All 3 of my kids have worn it now, and it's fantastic. I love this team, and we're doing so good, and I am exhausted, but also so happy with my personal life, with my sports team, and the fact that both of those are lining up so perfectly right now is just cause for celebration. And so if you have a hat, throw it out in the air. You can pick it back up, you know, like I will, and now, why not? Whoop! Vegas is rounding into playoff form, and that's really good to see. And I imagine Hill will be our starter once we get to that point, but Samsonov had a really good game, and if we're able to have games like that we can rely on him to be able to get and acquire more points to really build our cushion in the Pacific Division so that we don't have to face Edmonton or LA in the first round, that would be nice. And odds are right now we would face St. Louis, but St. Louis is on a heater, and if they pass Minnesota, then we might face Minnesota. Which without Kaprizov and Joel Eriksson-Ek and whoever, they've had a myriad of injuries so far this season. So like they are riding the strong start that they had in the first half, despite like throughout the second half, despite not being great the second half, mostly due to how injury ridden they've been. And so, you know, I'd like to face them healthy, but also for like the sportsmanship, the compete level, the hockey enthusiast in me would love to see Kaprizov play. Not against my team, that's the fan side and the you know, all that. But it is just shaping up real nice for Vegas. And that's wonderful because we had a month or so or two where we struggled quite a bit. And so jumping back on that horse and eating that horse, we're doing great. Not literally, but you know. Isn't that right? I would love to talk more in depth about these games, but I just quite frankly don't have it off the top of my noggin. I've been a little preoccupied, understandably. And let's get back into the swing of things, just like Vegas has been doing. But that's gonna be it for game 60. Ooh. That's gonna be it for game 69, nice 70, and 71's nightly review. Thank you so much for watching. And you want to say it with me? Say have a good night. But we'll work on it.